Today I'm going to show you how to refurbish and recondition Honda Insight hybrid battery packs. These are the IMA battery packs that sit in the back end of the Honda Insight. This is the first generation Honda Insight. The first generation Honda Civic Hybrid is the same concept. I got a battery pack over there. But I'm going to talk more specifically with the Honda Insight battery packs today. So there's a grid charging and discharging process that's pretty well established and well known, and you can find quite a few videos and websites regarding how to do that. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about that, but I'm going to show you how I load test each battery stick and then self-discharge test and weed out the bad cells and put in some good cells to refurbish these battery packs, so you're not spending over $1,000 on a brand new battery pack. So first of all, it's a little kind of a mess over here. I've got two battery packs. One battery pack has the junction board on the side and the other one does not, but you can charge them with and without the junction board. This side is all open as well. Show you the ends there, and then that's with the cover on it, obviously. So I've got the hybrid automotive Prolong grid charger, and I've got the Prolong discharger up here. The bottom one is discharging, the top one is charging. Not right now, I've got everything turned off. But what's kind of cool here is, so in the bottom one here, we don't have the junction board. And what I have is a jumper wire between these two sticks, and then this is the final terminal at a negative polarity, and then this is the other terminal, that's the positive, and that is running all those batteries together with that little orange grid plate. And the junction board connects all those sticks together. So I'm kind of bypassing that with these wires here. And when you connect, this terminal here and that terminal, you're sitting at about 160 volts or so. And so I'm discharging that one down to 96 volts, and then I'll charge it back up, and then discharge to 60 volts, and then charge it back up, and then discharge to 12 volts, and then charge it back up. And then after that, I will load test each stick with a light bulb for 2 minutes and record my findings from resting to loaded voltage state, and record all that down and compare them as I go, and weed out the bad sticks. And so what I'm basically doing is, I'm jumping those two sticks here, and when you look at this plate, you've got the positive terminal here for the grid charger and negative up here. And if you follow this metal plate down, it comes all the way over here and hits this one, hits that terminal, which is that terminal there. Here, through this thing, up this wire, onto this metal plate, and then down, over, and then it connects to that terminal right there, which is that terminal right there. So I'm just bypassing that whole junction board because this battery pack doesn't have one. And here is the voltage tap, and so you might hear people say, well, what are your voltages at the tap? So this plugs into your BCM, and you can get a voltage reading out of this tap here, and it will tell you the voltage of these sticks in a pair, and 10 pairs of sticks for a total of 20. And that is how you assess whether or not your battery is balanced. And you want the battery pack to be, when you refurbish them, you want them to be less than a 0.2 volt difference between the best pair and the worst pair. Most of the battery packs I'm refurbishing end up right around 0.08 to 0.12 volts, so that's pretty dang solid. You'll start seeing some issues at a 0.04 voltage difference. You'll get some recalibrations. Probably not quite an IMA light yet, but getting close. And at 0.6 volt difference, you're definitely going to have an IMA light, and it's not going to work. However, if you have a stick that just drops under load quickly, your battery pack might appear to be balanced, but after you put a load on it, one of those sticks drops down very rapidly and causes it to go unbalanced. That can cause an IMA light as well, and so that's what the load test does, is it kind of figures out what stick that is, and then you toss that one out. And I'll go through that whole process here as I do this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my fan, because obviously the fans are missing here. So I got that fan blowing through. Turn on my grid charger. So the top battery pack is sitting at 162 volts right now. It'll top out between 170 and 180 volts, depending on temperature, ambient temperature. And I'll go ahead and turn on my discharger. This one's kind of loud. And then hit the 96 volts. And it's going to drop down to 96 volts. And then this will cut off when it's done. It'll start beeping and stuff. And then I'll go ahead and swap, machines and do the vice versa grid charge. The battery pack I just discharged, and then discharge the pack that I'm currently charging up. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to read the voltages at this tap here. And it's very simple. You don't even have to take out the battery pack to do this. You can just take off the back cover and assess it from there. So this battery pack I just got about an hour ago, a couple hours ago, from a guy from a return, a core return. I sold him a refurbished battery pack, and then he just returned his core to me. So I've had it on the grid charger for a little bit. It was pretty low in voltage, right around 7 volts per pair, which is only 3.5 volts per stick. And these sticks are supposed to be right around 7 volts, 7.2 volts nominal. So now it's at like 163 volts. So they should be right around, I don't know, between 7 and 8 volts. Well, yeah, 7.5 volts now. And so we should be sitting right around 15 volts per pair. So we'll see what this does, and see how balanced it is. I know it's not going to be super balanced because it hasn't fully grid charged yet, but I'm just going to show you the concept here. So you've got this top and bottom together, all the way to the left. You got to kind of move the sticks around a little bit, the probes. Alright, so this pair is sitting at 16.19 volts. And then we go top left, and then this bottom, this next bottom one here. And I'll reference this stuff in the description below. 15.86 volts. And this first one was 16.17, so it's pretty bad right now. And then we've got that one and that one. So lime green and looks like black or purple. 15.88. And so what I was talking about, so now we're going to go diagonal again to these two, lime green and lime green. That was another high one, 16.09. And you can see that this is showing negative here, so I got the polarity mixed up, but it doesn't particularly matter. And now we just go straight across the board here. These two, these two, these two, these two, these two, and those two. I feel like I'm using chopsticks here, and I'm not very good at chopsticks. Alright, 15.89, 15.88, 15.95. So this is the first thing I do when I get these battery packs, and I check this out to see where we're at here. So that's 15.71. 15.74 and 15.84. So I think this was the highest one at 16.15, and the lowest one is 15.71. So you're looking at 30.4. Lower 0.4 volts, 0.44 volts off right now. So obviously it needs to balance up before we do anything. And this would not be a good battery pack to just toss in the car right now. But after I recondition it, I'll reassess everything, and then I will load test each battery stick, and then I'll let the whole battery pack just sit for 3 weeks, and I'll monitor. I'll jot down each stick voltage over the course of 3 weeks, and we'll see if we have any fast dischargers, fast self-dischargers, and we'll see if we have any fast loaded dischargers, and we get rid of those sticks, and I harvest those from, I've got these orange and yellow sticks over here, and I have those all written down on a piece of paper on what their status is and how quickly they self-discharged, and I will pair those sticks up the best I can with the rest of these sticks, and that is how you refurbish a battery pack. It'll rebalance. The BCM will be happy. It'll see that the sticks are nice and balanced, and you will no longer get that IMA light. So it's tedious, but I think it's worth the effort, and I'll walk you through that whole process. Alright, today I'm going to show you how to do the load test on each battery stick. So the first thing you want to do is make a chart. So I've got 1 through 20 here. I've got a resting column, a 2-minute load test column, and a drop column. And what we'll do is first you got to disassemble the battery pack to some extent. So there's a little plastic cover here, 6 screws, you remove that. On this side you've got the junction board. There's a bolt here, here, and here, and then on the side there's these rubber covers that you got to pull off from the junction board, and these bolts are hidden underneath the rubber covers, and then there's a rubber cover underneath there, and then there's 3 more bolts on the bottom that have to be removed. I can show you that over here. So bolt, bolt, and bolt, and here are the rubber covers. So there's Yep, 3 right there, rubber covers, and then 1 right there, and they just pull off. And then on the very bottom is you get the bolts along the bottom. So that's how you get the junction board off, and that will expose this section here. So that's as far as you need to go to do the load testing. You do not need to disassemble it completely, which is pretty nice. So I've got my grid charger harness here, and discharge harness hooked in series with this headlight bulb in conjunction with my voltmeter. And then on the positive end, I just have that alligator clipped, and then negative end alligator clipped to the grid charger. So I'll show you what I do here. Alright, so this is our setup. This is battery stick number 1, this is number 20, and this on this side is where the fan shroud would be. It's obviously taken off. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll follow along on our piece of paper. Number 1, number 20, and number 20 is next to this empty space here, and number 1 is on the opposite end of 20. Alright, so got our orientation squared away there. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. Hopefully you can read that or see that. So that resting voltage for that number 1 stick is 8.49 volts. So we're going to write that down. 8.49. Alright, so the next thing we do is we turn on the light and we hit the stopwatch as close as we can at the same time. Alright, so now we just sit here and wait for 2 minutes, and you can see it's already dropping pretty significantly there. So it's at 6.7 volts right now, and it was at 8.5 volts, which is about normal. Most of them will drop between 1.5 to 2 volts, sometimes 2.5, no, more like 2.2 volts. The worst one I've ever seen dropped a little over 3 volts. Obviously that was a bad stick. It was an outlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this for every stick. So it's 2 minutes per stick, and what we'll do is compare the amount of voltage each stick drops, and you want them all to drop relatively the same. And if you have an outlier like 3 volts you would toss that one out if the rest are 2 volts or 1.8 volts, because that's going to throw the pack out of balance pretty significantly. So we're at 1 minute and 20 now, and at the end of 2 minutes is when I'll write down the 2 minute load test. I'll write down the voltage after 2 minutes. So it's going to be 6 point 6.51. So then you would do the math for the drop column. 8.56 minus 6.51 is going to be 2.05 volts. So that's 1 stick. So 8.56 minus 6.51 gives you 2.05 volts. So you repeat that whole process 19 more times. And as you can see, that the voltage is rebounding pretty well. It started at 8.56 and now we're at 8.38. So it's rebounding quite well. So that's probably a good stick. If I find an outlier, I'll go ahead and record that. But I don't think we probably need to record the the next 40 minutes of me doing this. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit pause, and I will record back if I find an outlier. Alright, so I'm all done with the load testing here, and down here in this column is the resting voltage to begin with. As you can see, they're all pretty well balanced. Looks like the biggest span is 0.1 volts, which when you balance these things out, you want them to be no greater than 0.2 volts different spread from worst to best pair. And I reviewed that earlier in the video. Here's your load. So after 2 minutes, here's the load, and this one was quite a bit more than, well, decently more than the rest. And here's the how much it dropped. So you've got a couple here in the 2 volt range. Most of them are right around 1.8, 1.9 volts. This one's 2.2. That's definitely an outlier. These two are close enough. It shouldn't really cause any issues. But 2.2 as being the worst, and 178 being the best. It's a pretty big span. So that one was likely causing the IMA light to turn on. So this pack would balance out pretty well after grid charging, and it would work decently well until you loaded it pretty hard. And I assume it was that one that was causing the IMA light. So here are resting voltages for today. I'll date that up there, and then I'll grid charge it, and I'll start a new column. And after grid charging it tonight, I'll unplug it and wait 1 week. And in 1 week, I'll record the resting voltages, each stick. And then a week later, I'll make a new column and write down all the resting voltages for each stick. And then 3 weeks later, I'll do the same thing. And after 3 weeks of just sitting there, you will be able to see what sticks are self-discharging quicker than the rest, and you gotta take those sticks out too. So it'll be interesting to see what that stick does. You might be surprised; it might just hang in there and be real balanced with the rest. But you know, when you put a load on it, it does not tolerate that load very well. But we'll see what happens after 3 weeks. Regardless, I'm going to remove it and replace it with a known good stick. But that's the whole process right there. It's not terribly difficult. Now, if or when I replace that stick, I will show you how to disassemble this whole pack. It's not too much harder. You've got 20 bolts and 20 screws. It's a little annoying, but with a power tool, it goes by pretty quickly. So yeah, I will show you guys that next. So I'm at week 2. I did not record week 1 for this video purposes, but it's usually pretty unremarkable after a week of sitting. But we're at week 2 of self-discharge testing, and so now I'm gonna check the resting voltage of each stick and write that down, and we'll start to see a pattern, and I'll show you what that looks like after I'm done. So I start at the bottom opposite of the empty space. This is battery or stick 1. and this resting voltage is 8.07. Alright, so that completes that series. So that's week 2, and you can see here there's really not any outliers yet, which is good. That means the pack is pretty well balanced after a reconditioning process, and this pack may not need any sticks removed. Even the this loaded battery 16 is an outlier compared to the rest, so I'll probably get rid of that one because that was a 2.23 volt drop, whereas the rest were 1.8 to 1.9, a couple 2 volt drops, but not as high as that 2.23. So you basically get rid of the outliers and replace them with sticks that have similar voltage self-discharge rates, and then obviously same loaded drop test rates, and then that will rebalance the pack and reassemble, and you should be having a happy Insight for quite a while. So I will record week 3 in a week, and we'll see what we got going on. Alright, I'm back to check my battery out. This is after 3 weeks of just sitting here. This is the self-discharge test, and as you can see down this row, after 3 weeks of sitting, the large majority of these batteries are sitting at 7.9 and some change volts. However, we've got a couple outliers. So we have, this one's at 7.86, which is a little less, not too much less, but this one's at 7.78 and 7.77. And if you look just right here, that's almost a 0.20 volt difference. And when you refurbish these packs, you want these packs to be less than 0.2 volt difference between the highest, well, I guess it is 2.9799, so 99 is the highest, and 77 is the lowest. So that's over a 0.2 volt spread, and that is unacceptable to refurbish, to qualify this as a refurbished pack. We want these to be as tight as possible, so ideally you'd want them all to be in the 7.9 range. And so what I'll do is I'll take this battery, and that battery out of the pack, and then likely that 221 drop battery, because that's higher than the rest as well. Yeah, so we're going to remove 4 battery sticks from this pack and replace them with batteries that have a resting voltage of 7.9 range and an acceptable voltage drop range into this pack. So that's where it can get a little tricky, but I've got a pack sitting over there, and I've done the same test on those sticks, and I've got those recorded, and so I'll be able to swap those sticks out and put them in these different packs. And you really should try to match the colors, so I'll put yellow with yellow and orange with orange. They're technically the same batteries, but yeah, for whatever reason they have a little bit different characteristics when they're charging and under load. So yeah, that'll be my next step. So I'll show you how I take off, the side panels here. It's easy, but it just takes a while because you got 20 bolts and you got 20 screws on each side, so a total of 40. And if you are doing this by hand, it is not fun. You definitely want to get some a little impact gun or wrench or whatever and zip those off there. Alright, so that'll be my next step. Before I show you that next step, here's the other pack. So I've got 2 battery packs sitting here, and you look down here and this one's pretty dang solid. We're 8.0 and some change all the way down. Very balanced, but we have one outlier here with the drop test, 2.23 volts, while the rest are 1.8 to 1.9, a couple 2-volt drops. It's not too far out of balance, but I don't really want that one to give us troubles down the road, so I'll go ahead and take that one out, so I don't get any callbacks or anything like that of the battery pack failing early. So, but this pack could probably do just fine for quite a while. But if you live in a mountain area or hilly area and you really load this pack down with some hard acceleration, that battery will probably give us some fits at some point. Maybe not right away, but yeah, I would say that's kind of a ticking time bomb right there. So I'll get rid of that one. So this pack's pretty good. Pretty good and well balanced battery pack. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate on this top one how you take this side panel off, because I'm only replacing one battery stick on this pack. So it's pretty easy, but I've just got this impact wrench or impact gun here, and we're just going to zip these off. These are 10 millimeters. The screws are a little tricky, just because you don't want to strip those out. So just got to be really careful with those and make sure you got good pressure on them so you don't strip it out. The screw Alright, that was the last one. Now you gotta come through here and take a small screwdriver and pry up these little tabs. So what I'm doing is getting this tab and just prying it up like so, because when this plate comes off, it's got to slide out, and those tabs are kind of holding it in a little bit. And so you want to try to bend it straight out on each one, like so. So when I pull this orange plate off, it slides out, and then when I put the orange plate back on, it slides right on. So that's what I'm doing here. Alright, so I've got all those tabs bent up. Just kind of pry this away. And that should just kind of pop off there. All right. You'll see that there are square ends and hexagon ends. The square ends are positive, the hexagon ends are negative. And you can't really screw that up because on the back side of the plate, I mean, you can screw it up, but it's kind of hard. But the back side of the plate allows the ends of the batteries to fit in there, you know, like a puzzle, or shapes, you know, they fit perfectly. So it is hard to screw up, but you can do it. The plate will not, you know, return back in very smoothly, and so if you shouldn't have to force that plate back on. And then obviously you can just kind of do an eye glance and look across there, square, hexagon, square, hexagon, square, hexagon, and just, you know, make sure you're alternating, you know, sides. So now what I need to do is disengage or unbolt the opposite side, but I'm not going to do the whole plate because I don't really have to, because I'm only removing one stick. So I'll be able to just, you know, grab it, kind of twist and pull it out, instead of undoing, you know, the entire side on the opposite side. Work smarter, not harder, right? So based on my notes, we have to remove battery 16. So as we've noted, this is battery 1, so 1 through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we got to remove this one here. So I'll come over on this side and undo this side only, or this single battery only. There you go. There you have it. So that's the one battery cell that I'm going to replace. Here is the other side of the board taken apart. So I removed that plate, and this plate has 4 bolts on the corners, and then it also has these temperature sensor wires, you know, mounted on this side. So I wanted to show you this side as well. So if you have to replace the top row, it would be more beneficial to remove the other side, because this side has a little bit more going on. So it's a little bit more work to remove this side. But if you have to remove the top, if you have to replace a cell from the top row, this wire loom is not connected to any one battery on the top row. Just this first one, and then this one here, and then you got this first one down here, and then this last one. So those are the only cells that would require the battery to come out from this side, which would require you to remove, you know, that plate. Otherwise, any other cell, you can remove the other side and then just remove, you know, a single bolt and screw on this side to save you a little bit of time. You know, not a lot, but a little bit. All right. So I pulled the stick out of my other pack over there that I used to refurbish, and this has a resting voltage of 8 volts after 3 weeks and a drop test of 1.99 volts. So that will fit very nicely into this pack, where the resting voltage across the other 19 sticks is 8.0 volts through 8.07, so it's right in the realm, and then 1.99 volts is right in the realm under the load test. So again, so we've got a hexagon here, so we have to have the square facing us here. We're going to slide this one in. You got to make sure that tab goes out the other side and it doesn't get jammed up. perfect. So it came out the other side real well, straight through, and I'll just bend that tab down. I will put this bolt back in and then screw it in. So that stick that I just replaced has been sitting in that pack for months. I don't know exactly how long. Probably, I can look actually, probably 4 months or so. And it's sitting at 7.52 volts. So it's obviously out of balance from the rest of these because the rest are at 8 volts, right around 8 volts. So the final step after reassembling this will to be grid charge it one more time and see what it shows after a week of sitting here, just to make sure that the balanced rate is nice and even. And it should be. Back when I tested it months ago, it was right at 8.5 volts after a grid charge, and the rest of these sticks are right around 8.5 volts. So it should be perfect, but you do want to do one last final check before you list it for sale or reuse it yourself. But yeah, that's how you do it. It's relatively easy. I'm not an electrician. I've just kind of learned by reading. It's not all that difficult, but I'm going to go ahead and put this plate back on. And you just got to make sure all those tabs are going to slide through. So you do want to be careful, not just jam it on there. And I'm already hitting here. All right. Okay, we're in business. We got all the tabs down. Next step that I do is get all the bolts in first because those are a lot easier, and then I'll secure the plate down nice and. And for just a note of caution, the down here on this end is the positive end of the whole pack when it's all assembled, and up here is the negative end, and it's on this side. So basically you don't want to just touch the whole thing, especially these two ends, so you don't get shocked, obviously. But as you can see, you'd have to be kind of an idiot to really hurt yourself. But yeah, it's not gonna leap out with electricity or anything. You just got to be relatively careful and not touch these bolt ends with two hands or whatever. It's pretty safe. This sticker here really is kind of funny. High voltage, you will be killed or hurt. So there are warning stickers on there. And if you are an idiot or just slip or something, yeah, you would probably be hurt pretty badly or maybe even killed. But like I said, you have to be pretty careless to work. I think you'd have to be pretty careless to hurt yourself working on one of these things. Alright, there you have it. So that pack is all reassembled. I'm I have my jumper wire on here already because this does not have the side. I only have one junction board to work with right now. I might buy another one on eBay or something, but so I got my jumper wire here. There's my positive end and my negative end, and this one's ready to grid charge and reassess after a week or so, just to make sure we're nice and balanced. And I will list that one for sale. And I get these core returns. I offer $200 for your core return. So most of these battery packs you can get used for right around $200, and they all have IMA lights or throw an IMA light. So they all require some reconditioning or attention. So I figured $200 is a pretty fair offer, and you know, I haven't had anyone complain about that offer. So I sell these for between $400 and $475, right around that range, and $200 for core return. So you know, $600 to $675 without a core return. I don't ship, I just deal locally. That way, if there are any issues, I can address those quickly and efficiently and locally, and I help install these, and I help uninstall the old ones. Kind of just lump that into the cost, or just, you know, offer it as a free service. I like these cars a lot. They're fun cars to drive. They're unique, and I like to keep them on the road. So yeah, that's how I refurbish these battery packs. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down below. And I'm trying to build my channel, so please do subscribe, like, and share for more content in the future. I do a lot of videos on cars and how-tos. So yeah, please subscribe and help build my channel. And I hope you guys keep these little insights on the road. Thanks a lot for watching.